the quiet spaces of our minds, there is often a battle waged, one that few dare to confront. The battle between the thoughts we hold within and the truths we fail to speak. We have been taught to bear our burdens in silence, to hide our vulnerabilities beneath layers of stoic restraint. Yet, silence, though powerful, is not a virtue when it hinders the growth of our spirit or stifles the clarity of our needs. It is time to break the silence, to face the discomfort of expression, and to embrace the strength found in speaking what is often left unsaid. For only through clear, honest communication can we build the life we are meant to lead, one that aligns with our deepest truths, our highest purpose. The power of silence, a double-edged sword. Silence, in its purest form, is a tool, a shield that guards the soul from the noise of the world. But when wielded in excess, silence becomes a prison, trapping us within the confines of our own unspoken truths. There is a certain beauty in silence, a tranquility that allows us to reflect, to center ourselves, to find inner peace. It is a sacred space where we can hear the whispers of our thoughts and listen to the rhythms of our heart. But silence, when it becomes the default response to life's challenges, when it is used to mask our needs and desires, can also be a heavy burden. Think for a moment. How often do you retreat into silence, allowing your thoughts to fester without speaking them aloud? How often do you suppress your needs, choosing to suffer quietly rather than express the discomfort within? The silent treatment may seem like a means of protection, a way to avoid conflict or rejection, but in truth, it is a form of self-betrayal. For when we do not speak our needs, we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow, to connect, and to evolve. The power of silence lies in its potential for clarity, but when misused, it becomes a barrier to understanding and intimacy. It is not the silence itself that is to be feared, but the unspoken words that accumulate within, becoming an insurmountable weight on the soul. To remain silent in the face of our needs is to allow our inner worlds to remain locked, unreachable by those who may offer understanding, support, or love. We begin to see ourselves as lesser, less worthy of attention, less deserving of the space to express our humanity. And in this, we rob ourselves of the very power we possess, the power of voice. But there is freedom in breaking the silence. The moment we choose to speak our truths, to articulate our needs with clarity and confidence, we step into our strength. We recognize that our words are not burdens, but bridges. Bridges that connect us to others, to our own selves, and to the possibilities that lie ahead. In speaking, we release the grip of fear. We transcend the self-imposed limits of silence, and we open ourselves to a world of growth and understanding. The first step in communicating your needs effectively is acknowledging the dual nature of silence. It is both a refuge and a prison. Its power lies not in its absence, but in how we choose to use it. The silence that protects us from the chaos of the world must never become the silence that isolates us from our own truth. And so, we must learn to listen, not just to the quiet around us, but to the voice within that longs to be heard. It is time to break free from the silence that stifles us, to find our voice and speak with purpose. For in doing so, we claim our place in the world, not as passive observers, but as active participants in the unfolding of our lives. The burden of unspoken words. Unspoken words are like seeds left unplanted They remain dormant, unrealized, and buried in the soil of our thoughts. They hold potential, yes, but that potential is wasted in silence. Each unspoken word, each need we fail to express, creates a weight that grows heavier with time. We carry it silently, walking through the world with burdens that others cannot see. Yet that burden presses on our hearts with unyielding force. It is tempting to remain silent, to hold our truths within, believing that silence will shield us from the complexities of relationships, from discomfort, from conflict. We may convince ourselves that keeping our needs hidden is a form of self-sufficiency or strength, but this is an illusion. The longer we hold these unspoken words within us, the more they begin to shape our world in ways we cannot control. We may grow resentful, silently blaming others for not meeting our needs, while never offering them the chance to truly understand us. We may become bitter, feeling neglected or unseen, even though we never gave others the opportunity to be part of our internal world. The burden of unspoken words erodes the foundation of relationships, creating distance where there could have been connection. We begin to question ourselves, doubting our worth, as if our needs are somehow less important, less deserving of attention. But the truth is, our needs are not burdens. They are part of the human condition, part of the very fabric that connects us all. To leave our words unspoken is to deny the world the opportunity to know us. We withhold the opportunity for growth, for understanding, and for compassion. It is not just others who are deprived of the chance to offer us help. We are also depriving ourselves of the chance to grow, to release the tension that builds within when we fail to express what is true. When we allow our needs to remain unspoken, we carry them in the shadows of our minds, never allowing them to see the light of day. But when we speak them, when we give voice to what is hidden, we set those needs free. We let go of the heaviness, and in doing so, we invite the possibility of change, of resolution, and of true connection. Speaking our needs is not a burden, it is a liberation. It is a declaration that we are worthy of being understood, worthy of being seen, worthy of having our voices heard. The burden of unspoken words does not disappear on its own. It requires action, the courage to speak, the strength to express what has been held back for too long. And when we find the courage to do so, we realize that the weight we feared was never as heavy as it seemed. In the release, we find freedom, and in that freedom, we rediscover the power of our voice, the power to shape our own lives and to invite others into our world, breaking the chains of internal conflict. We are often our own worst enemies. Within the fortress of our minds, there lies a battleground where internal conflicts wage, often unnoticed, unacknowledged, and unaddressed. These silent wars, the ones that take place in the quiet corners of our thoughts, are not fought with weapons, but with fears, doubts, and the constant struggle between what we feel and what we think we should feel. We battle against our own desires, our own needs, convincing ourselves that they are either unworthy of expression or too burdensome to share. This internal conflict is a silent chain, one that holds us captive, limiting our ability to live freely, authentically, and fully. We may find ourselves torn between the desire for connection and the fear of vulnerability, between the urge to speak our truths and the belief that doing so will invite judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding. In the process, we become prisoners of our own minds, locked in a cycle of self-doubt and silence. The more we suppress our needs, the stronger these chains become, constricting our ability to be present in our relationships, to be true to ourselves, and to pursue the life we truly seek. But here lies the truth. These chains are not unbreakable. They are formed not by external forces but by our own beliefs and perceptions. We hold the key to our freedom, and it lies in our willingness to confront these fears and speak what is true. When we break free from the chains of internal conflict, we liberate not just our voices, but our entire being. We cease to be fragmented between what we feel and what we express, and instead we become whole, aligned in thought, word, and action. The process of breaking these chains begins with self-awareness, the recognition that our internal conflict is the result of fears that we have allowed to control us. We must ask ourselves, what am I afraid of? What is the worst that could happen if I speak my needs aloud? More often than not, the fear we hold is far more debilitating than the reality we face. Our minds create monsters from shadows, and we give them power by allowing them to remain unchallenged. But when we bring them into the light, we see them for what they are, illusions that crumble under the weight of truth. The act of speaking our needs is not just about expressing ourselves to others. It is an act of self-liberation. It is a declaration that we are no longer willing to be prisoners of our own fears, that we are worthy of freedom, of understanding, and of connection. Each word spoken is a step toward breaking the chains that bind us, each conversation a moment of release from the internal strife that keeps us stuck in silence. When we let go of the internal conflict, we open ourselves to a life of authenticity, where our needs are not burdens but invitations to deeper connection. We realize that we are not alone in our struggles. We are part of a shared human experience. The act of speaking our truths, of articulating our needs, is a powerful way to transcend the isolation that comes from silence. It is an invitation for others to meet us where we are, to walk alongside us, and to offer the understanding and compassion we deserve. The chains of internal conflict are only as strong as we allow them to be. By confronting them, by choosing to speak rather than silence, we break free from their grip. And in this freedom we find not only our voice, but our power to shape our lives, to heal our relationships, and to live with the authenticity we were always meant to embrace. Why your needs matter, and why you deserve to be heard. Too often we are led to believe that our needs are inconsequential, that they are burdens to others, or that they are somehow selfish. We are taught from a young age to place the needs of others above our own, to endure in silence, and to carry our struggles alone. In doing so, we develop a deep-rooted belief that our voices, our desires, our pain, our needs are somehow less important than those of the people around us. This false narrative leads to a life of suppression, where we diminish ourselves, denying our own worth in the name of politeness, humility, or fear. But here lies the harsh truth. You are worthy of being heard. Your needs matter, not because they serve your comfort or convenience, but because they are an expression of your humanity. Every person, in their own way, experiences pain, joy, frustration, hope, and longing. To silence your needs is to silence a part of your soul, to repress the very essence of who you are. And in doing so, you rob not only yourself, but those around you of the opportunity to connect with you on a deeper level. To be human is to have needs, and these needs are not weaknesses. They are the foundation of what it means to live authentically. When we express our needs, we invite others to see us, not as mere vessels going through the motions of life, but as fully realized beings with desires, boundaries, and dreams. And in doing so, we give others the opportunity to understand us, to meet us, and to help us grow. There is a profound power in speaking your needs aloud. When you give voice to what you require, whether it's understanding, support, space, or love, you are not demanding, you are inviting. You are offering the world a chance to align with your truth, to step into your experience and to engage with you as a whole person. And in doing so, you open the door to a richer, more meaningful connection with others, one that is based on mutual respect and understanding. But expressing your needs goes beyond your relationships with others. It is an act of self-respect, a declaration that you value yourself enough to be seen for who you truly are. Too often we shy away from expressing our needs because we fear judgment, rejection, or ridicule. We fear that by stating what we need, we will appear weak or demanding. But this fear is a lie. The truth is that when you express your needs, you are acknowledging your own worth. You are affirming that you are deserving of love, respect, and care. The world does not move to the rhythm of your desires, but it does respond to the clarity and courage with which you communicate them. And by speaking your needs, you teach others how to treat you. You set boundaries, you foster understanding, and you open the space for compassion. You deserve to be heard. Not because your needs are more important than anyone else's, but because your needs are valid and your voice matters. The people around you can only meet you where you are if you show them where you stand. Do not fear the power of your voice, nor the vulnerability that comes with it. For when you speak with authenticity, you invite the world to meet you in your truth, and that is where true connection, true healing, and true growth begin. So ask yourself, why would you continue to live in the shadows of your own silence when the world is waiting for the light of your truth? Speak your needs. They are not burdens. They are a vital part of your existence, and they deserve to be heard. Understanding the fear of vulnerability. At the core of every unspoken need, every silent desire, lies a single powerful emotion: fear. Fear is a natural part of the human experience, a primal instinct designed to protect us from harm. It warns us of danger, of risk, and of the unknown. But this fear, when unchecked, can also become a force that holds us back, keeping us locked in the safety of silence and preventing us from stepping into the fullness of who we are meant to be. The fear of vulnerability is perhaps one of the most insidious fears we carry. Vulnerability, the act of exposing our inner selves, our weaknesses, our needs, is often seen as a form of weakness, a point of entry for rejection or harm. We have been taught, either directly or indirectly, that to be vulnerable is to be open to attack, that by showing our true selves, by expressing what we require, we make ourselves susceptible to criticism, judgment, or betrayal. But this perception is rooted in a misunderstanding of vulnerability. True vulnerability is not a weakness, it is a strength. It is an act of courage, of profound self-awareness, to stand before the world and say, "This is me as I am, with all of my needs, desires, and flaws." Vulnerability is the bridge that connects us to others, the thread that binds us to our shared humanity. It is in the willingness to be seen, truly seen, that we create the space for authenticity, connection, and growth. To fear vulnerability is to deny the very possibility of intimacy, both with ourselves and with others. If we continue to hide our needs, to bury our emotions beneath layers of self-protection, we condemn ourselves to a life of isolation, of false strength, and of shallow relationships. We rob ourselves of the richness that comes from being fully known and fully understood. The truth is that vulnerability, when embraced, becomes a source of power. It is through vulnerability that we open ourselves to the possibility of deep connection, of real love, and of meaningful change. When we speak our needs, we invite others to walk with us in our truth. We allow them the chance to offer their support, their empathy, and their care. And in turn, we allow ourselves to receive that same support, that same love, without shame or guilt. But vulnerability requires a shift in perspective. We must stop seeing it as a risk and begin to see it as an opportunity to be seen, to be heard, and to be known. We must understand that the fear of vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of the courage it takes to face our own discomfort, to lean into the unknown, and to trust that we are worthy of love and understanding, despite our imperfections. So ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped hiding? What would happen if you let go of the fear that keeps you silent, that tells you your needs are unimportant, or that being vulnerable is a danger? The truth is, the only danger in vulnerability is the danger of never giving yourself the chance to experience the freedom, the connection, and the growth that comes with it. Let go of the fear. Let go of the belief that your needs are a burden. Embrace the power of vulnerability, and in doing so, allow yourself to be seen, not as a perfect, untouchable figure, but as a human being, with all of the strength, the flaws, and the beauty that comes with simply being yourself. The art of expressing yourself without hesitation. We are all familiar with hesitation, that fleeting moment of doubt that lingers in our minds, holding us back from speaking, from acting, from stepping into the fullness of our truth. It is the pause before the leap, the lingering uncertainty that tells us we are not quite ready, that maybe, just maybe, it's better to stay silent, to remain passive, to wait for the perfect moment. But in truth, hesitation is often a thief that steals our opportunities, our connections, and our potential. The art of expressing yourself without hesitation is not about eliminating doubt entirely. Doubt is part of the human experience, a natural companion to any meaningful act. Rather, it is about learning to recognize hesitation for what it truly is, a signal, not a barrier. When you feel the pull of hesitation, understand that it is not a sign to retreat, but an invitation to move forward in spite of your fear. Hesitation arises not because you are unworthy of expression, but because you are stepping into unknown territory, into new emotional terrain. And in that moment, the most powerful thing you can do is act, speak, share, express, without waiting for perfection, for permission, or for the absence of fear. Every time you hesitate to express your needs, you reinforce the idea that your voice does not matter, that your desires are not worth sharing. But every time you push past that hesitation, every time you speak with conviction in spite of the uncertainty, you reinforce the idea that you are worthy of being heard, that your needs are valid, and that your presence in the world is significant. It is not about waiting for the right words or the perfect moment, but about trusting that in the act of speaking, in the act of sharing your truth, you will find the clarity and the courage you seek. The art of expression without hesitation is rooted in self-trust. It is the belief that your voice matters, that your needs deserve to be articulated, and that your truth is worthy of being heard. It is the confidence that you are enough as you are, imperfect, uncertain, and yet entirely deserving of the space to be seen. The more you practice expressing yourself without hesitation, the more natural it becomes. You begin to trust that the words will come, that the courage will rise, and that by sharing your truth, you are not only enriching your own life, but the lives of those around you. There is immense power in releasing the need for perfection. When we hesitate, we often seek the assurance that our words will be received in the exact way we want them to be. We long for validation, for approval, for the absence of judgment. But the reality is that you cannot control how others will receive your words. What you can control is the honesty with which you speak and the courage with which you step forward. When you speak from a place of authenticity, when you allow yourself to express your needs without hesitation, you free yourself from the burden of expectation. You allow your words to simply be true, unpolished, and real. It is in this freedom that connection thrives. When you speak without hesitation, you invite others to do the same. You set an example of authenticity, of vulnerability, of strength. You create a space where needs can be expressed openly, where emotions can be shared without fear of rejection, where relationships can grow and deepen through honest communication. The art of expressing yourself without hesitation is a practice, one that takes time and courage. But as you build the habit of speaking your truth, of sharing your needs without waiting for perfection, you will find that the world responds in kind. Doors open, relationships deepen, and you come to realize that your voice is not just a tool for expression, but so the next time hesitation arises, recognize it for what it is, not an obstacle, but an opportunity. Speak your truth. Express your needs. Let your voice be heard without waiting for permission and without apology. In that moment, you will discover not only the power of your voice, but the power of your own presence in the world. The strength in asking for what you need. There is a certain vulnerability in asking for what we need. It feels as though we are laying ourselves bare, exposing a part of ourselves that for so long we have kept hidden. In our society, we are often taught that strength lies in self-sufficiency, in the ability to go it alone, to shoulder our burdens without seeking help. But in truth, the greatest strength is not in carrying the weight of the world by ourselves, but in recognizing when we need support and having the courage to ask for it. Asking for what you need is not a sign of weakness. It is a profound declaration of self-awareness and self-respect. It is an acknowledgement that you are human, that you have limits, and that you deserve to have those limits recognized and respected by others. Too often we deny our own needs because we fear being seen as demanding, selfish, or incapable. But these fears are grounded in insecurity, not in truth. To ask for what you need is to honor yourself, to recognize that you are worthy of receiving, and to embrace the idea that you do not have to carry everything on your own. The act of asking is also an act of trust. It requires us to trust others to respond with care, with understanding, and with a willingness to help. It requires vulnerability, yes, but in that vulnerability lies the potential for connection, for growth, and for mutual support. When we ask for what we need, we give others the opportunity to show up for us in meaningful ways. We create space for them to demonstrate their love, their empathy, and their willingness to walk alongside us in our journey. But asking is not just about requesting assistance. It is about making our needs known. It is about standing firm in the belief that our needs are not burdens, but valid parts of who we are. When we ask for what we need, we are communicating our value to the world, signaling that we are deserving of care and respect. We are also teaching others how to treat us, how to show up for us, and how to engage with us in ways that honor our humanity. There is immense power in the simple act of asking. It dismantles the walls we have built around ourselves, the walls of pride, fear, and shame that keep us isolated. It invites others to meet us where we are, to offer what they can, and to become partners in our journey. And in that exchange, we not only receive what we need, but we also give others the opportunity to experience the joy of giving, of contributing to the well-being of another human being. Asking for what you need is not about expecting others to solve all your problems, nor is it about making demands that place undue pressure on them. It is about recognizing that you are worthy of support, that you are entitled to ask for what you need, and that the simple act of asking can foster deeper connections, greater empathy, and a sense of shared humanity. So, ask. Do not be afraid to express what you need, whether it is emotional support, guidance, or physical assistance. Do not be afraid to trust others to meet you halfway. In asking, you open the door to the possibility of greater connection, understanding, and compassion. And in that exchange, you create a space where your needs are not just heard, but respected. And your journey is no longer one that you must walk alone. The power of active listening in meeting needs. In the dance of communication, we often forget that listening is just as powerful as speaking. Too often, we focus on our own needs, our own desires, and our own thoughts, while overlooking the fact that the needs of others are just as valid, just as important. Yet, the act of listening is not simply a passive gesture. It is an active, intentional process that requires us to fully engage with another person, to be present in their world, and to understand the deeper layers of their experience. Active listening is a gift we give not only to others, but to ourselves as well. When we listen deeply, without interruption, without judgment, we open the space for others to express their needs and to be fully seen. This act of listening communicates that their voice matters, that their needs are worthy of attention, and that their experience is important. It is through this listening that we cultivate empathy, trust, and genuine connection, transforming relationships from shallow exchanges into meaningful, authentic bonds. Listening with intention is not simply about hearing words. It is about understanding the emotions, the intentions, and the subtle cues behind those words. It is about paying attention not only to what is said, but to what is unsaid, the hesitations, the silences, the unspoken needs that linger beneath the surface. When we listen in this way, we become more attuned to the needs of others, more capable of meeting them in ways that go beyond surface-level exchanges. We become more equipped to offer not just what is asked, but what is needed, whether that is emotional support, practical assistance, or simply a compassionate ear. But true active listening requires us to put aside our own agendas, our own distractions, and our own assumptions. It requires us to be present, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally as well. When we listen with this level of presence, we create an environment of trust where others feel safe to express their needs openly and honestly, without fear of being misunderstood or dismissed. In this space, communication flows freely, and the needs of both parties can be met with greater ease and understanding. the power of active listening is also reflected in how it strengthens our own ability to communicate. When we truly listen to others, we learn how to articulate our own needs more clearly, because we become more attuned to the nuances of communication. We learn the value of patience, of allowing others the time and space to express themselves fully before we respond. In this way, listening becomes a tool for self-awareness, helping us to refine our own communication and to better understand our own needs. Moreover, active listening is a reflection of respect. When we listen attentively to another person, we signal that their thoughts and feelings are worth our time and energy. We acknowledge their worth, their humanity, and their individuality. In doing so, we create a foundation for mutual respect, where both parties feel valued and understood, and in this foundation, the possibility for deeper connection, greater understanding, and stronger relationships flourishes. Listening, then, is not just a skill. It is an act of love. It is an act of showing up for others, of being fully present in their experience, and of meeting their needs with compassion and care. It is through this act that we are able to understand the true depths of another person's needs, and to respond with empathy, kindness, and support. And so, as you navigate your relationships and interactions, remember that listening is just as powerful as speaking. Do not underestimate the impact of truly hearing another person, of meeting them where they are, and of validating their needs with your presence. In doing so, you create the space for your own needs to be heard, for connections to deepen, and for both you and others to experience the transformative power of genuine understanding. The courage to set boundaries without guilt. In a world that constantly demands more from us, more time, more energy, more attention, it is easy to forget that we have the power to say no. We live in a society that often equates selflessness with virtue, where giving and accommodating others are seen as noble acts. However, the truth is that true virtue lies in the ability to recognize our own limits, to understand when we are stretched too thin, and to have the courage to set boundaries that protect our well-being. Setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-respect. It is a conscious choice to honor our own needs, to prioritize our health, and to recognize that we are not endless wells of energy. Just as a cup can only hold so much, our hearts, minds, and bodies have limits. When we fail to set boundaries, we risk draining ourselves dry, leaving nothing for our own growth, our own peace, and our own happiness. But often, the idea of setting boundaries comes with a heavy dose of guilt. We fear that by saying no, we are disappointing others, rejecting their needs, or appearing unkind. We fear that by prioritizing ourselves, we are somehow failing in our responsibilities, neglecting our duties, or failing in our relationships. But this guilt is not a reflection of truth, it is a reflection of societal conditioning. We are taught to put others first at the expense of our own willingness, to sacrifice ourselves in the name of duty and love. Yet, the greatest gift we can give to others is the gift of a healthy, balanced, and fulfilled version of ourselves. Setting boundaries is not about cutting others off or refusing to help. It is about recognizing that in order to give to others, we must first be able to give to ourselves. It is about creating space for self-care, for reflection, and for the replenishment of our own spirit. When we set boundaries, we are saying, I value myself enough to protect my energy, my time, and my peace. And by doing so, we create the conditions necessary for more meaningful, sustainable relationships. where giving and receiving are balanced, where love and respect flow freely in both directions. The courage to set boundaries without guilt is rooted in self-awareness. It requires us to understand our own needs and limits, to acknowledge when we are overwhelmed, and to recognize that we cannot pour from an empty cup. It also requires us to trust that those who truly care for us will respect our boundaries, that they will understand that our need for space or rest does not diminish our love or commitment to them. True relationships are not built on constant giving without receiving. They are built on mutual respect, where both parties honor each other's needs and limitations. It takes strength to say no when others are asking for more than we can give, to assert our boundaries in a world that constantly pushes for more. But this strength is not just physical or emotional. It is spiritual. It is the strength to stand firm in your own truth, to honor yourself in the face of external pressure, and to embrace the idea that your needs are just as important as anyone else's. When you set boundaries, you create the space for others to step into your life in ways that are healthy and respectful. You allow for deeper connection, where both parties can give and receive freely, without fear of resentment or burnout. Boundaries are not walls. They are the lines that define who we are, what we stand for, and what we will and will not tolerate. They are the invisible forces that protect our emotional, mental, and physical well-being, ensuring that we remain grounded and whole. So, as you move through the world, remember this. Setting boundaries is not a selfish act. It is a necessary one. It is a declaration that you honor yourself, that you value your own needs, and that you are worthy of love, respect, and care. The courage to set boundaries without guilt is the courage to live authentically, to show up for yourself, and to create the space for others to show up for you as well. In doing so, you will cultivate relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and a deep, abiding care for one another's well-being. The wisdom of knowing when to let go. There are moments in life when the hardest thing we must do is to let go. Letting go of what no longer serves us, what holds us back, or what we cling to out of fear, habit, or attachment, is often the most difficult act of all. Yet, it is through this act of release that we create the space for growth, for new beginnings, and for the peace that comes with surrender. We are creatures of habit. We form attachments to people, to outcomes, to ideas, and to expectations. These attachments give us a sense of comfort, of security, of stability. But in time, the very things we once clung to can become chains, binding us to a past that no longer exists, to relationships that have run their course, or to dreams that no longer align with who we are becoming. Letting go is not about forgetting or abandoning what has been meaningful to us. It is about recognizing that our attachment to it has become an obstacle to our peace and our progress. The wisdom of letting go lies in the understanding that we cannot control everything. Life is in constant flux, and the world around us is ever-changing. People grow, evolve, and sometimes they move on. Situations shift, opportunities arise, and paths diverge. Holding on to what was, or what could have been, only creates resistance to the flow of life. It keeps us stuck in the past, unable to embrace the present and the future that is waiting for us. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means choosing to release with grace. It is the conscious decision to stop fighting against what is and to make peace with the natural rhythms of life. It is about accepting that everything has a season and that some things are meant to come to an end so that something new can begin. The act of letting go is a form of trust. Trust that the universe has a plan for us, that our lives are unfolding as they are meant to, and that we do not need to control every aspect of our journey to find fulfillment. This wisdom is particularly important when it comes to relationships. We may hold on to people out of love, out of fear of loneliness, or out of a sense of obligation. But sometimes the most loving thing we can do for both ourselves and the other person is to let go. It is not an act of rejection, it is an act of respect. It is honoring the truth that sometimes the best way to allow someone to grow, to evolve, and to find their own path is to release them with love and gratitude. And in doing so, we create the space for new relationships, new opportunities, and new experiences that align with the people we are becoming. Letting go is also an act of self-care. When we hold on to things that drain us, whether they are toxic relationships, unfulfilled dreams, or unhealed wounds, we are allowing them to take up valuable emotional space in our lives. By letting go, we free ourselves from the weight of the past and make room for the future. It is through this release that we step into a lighter, more empowered version of ourselves. One that is no longer bound by the ghosts of what once was. The wisdom of letting go requires great strength and courage. It requires the ability to face discomfort, to embrace uncertainty, and to trust that the path ahead will reveal itself in due time. It asks us to believe that we are worthy of what is to come, and that by releasing the old, we open ourselves to the new. And in this act of surrender, we find not loss, but liberation. We find not emptiness, but the possibility of transformation. So, when the time comes, when you feel the weight of attachment pressing upon you, remember this: letting go is not defeat, it is freedom. It is the willingness to honor the ebb and flow of life, to release what no longer serves you, and to trust that what is meant for you will always find its way. It is in the art of letting go that we allow ourselves to be truly free, and in that freedom, we discover the fullness of our own potential.